Whether it's breaking news, sharing bite-sized pieces of content, or creating a community, Twitter is still one of the top social media platforms around the world. In fact, on average, every single month, there's 330 million active users. So if you are looking for a platform to engage with a community, you like a fast-paced environment, then you definitely need to consider Twitter. If this sounds of interest, then stick with me and I'm going to review some tips on how you can best market your brand using Twitter. Hi, I'm Vicki Carroll, your Plateau to Grow marketer. And if you're looking to use Twitter or accelerate your brand on a social media platform with a lot of active users every day, then you definitely need to consider Twitter, which is the topic that I'm talking about in this week's video. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first tip I have for you in marketing your brand using Twitter is to have a complete profile. Just like your website serves as a 24/7 salesperson, your Twitter and all other social media platform profiles serves as your 24/7 salesperson when you're not active on that platform and responding to messages. So the first thing that you need to do is visit your profile. Make sure that you have an updated photo, that you have a complete profile of who you serve, how you can help solve problems, what industries you serve, and if you're local to a specific area, you want to make sure that you have your geography identified as well. Here's one thing that some people don't know that you can do with your profile, and it's definitely to your benefit, is to include a hashtag or two in your profile. Your profile is one of the most searched aspects of Twitter on both Google and within Twitter itself. And if you're not including one or two hashtags in your profile, then you're missing out on some opportunities. And as with everything else, you definitely want to include a link to have your visitors go to, whether it's your website, just the main page. If you're offering an online course, then include that link. You can also switch it up as well, depending on what you have going on. But if you're just starting out, you definitely want to have a link to your website, your LinkedIn profile page, or whatever active online presence you have. Once you have a complete profile, you'll want to look at the type of content that you're sharing on Twitter. Now, you can mix up the type of content that you put on Twitter, but keep in mind, if you've been on Twitter, you see how quickly the feed rolls through, right? So depending on how often you have your refresh set up, it may come through constantly, which means that if someone that you're trying to reach has a large audience that they're following, it's going to be really hard to capture their attention with one tweet. So keep that in mind, that the people who are following you, you need to use content and images and calls to action that are going to trigger them to see your tweet, click on it, read it, and then take the desired action. So you'll want to evaluate your content, how you're creating it, and then also the message that you're conveying, so that in that off chance that it just flies by them on the screen, that they see your tweet, and that's the one that keeps their interest and allows them to then engage with you and take whatever calls to action that you include in that particular piece of content. That is the ultimate goal, is to connect with your ideal customers on Twitter, have conversations with them, and then help them take that next step in their customer journey towards working with you. My third tip for leveraging Twitter to market your brand is to use the scheduler. Twitter didn't used to have a built-in scheduler in the platform, which was encouraging people to go elsewhere, use third-party tools. Twitter now provides that scheduling tool within their application. So just like with all social media platforms, each one wants to keep all of their users on the platform, and they discourage, meaning in the algorithm, they discourage any type of content that's going to take people away from their platform. So that includes the third-party apps. So if you're using a third-party app to schedule your tweets, then you want to look at the scheduling tool now available in Twitter and see how you can use that instead. It's only going to work to your benefit, and it's only going to help you better connect with your target audience by doing so. So within Twitter, you can create your content ahead of time so that you don't feel like you need to be sitting there constantly and creating content on the fly. This is extremely helpful because part of the game and how to win using Twitter is all about consistency. And it's keeping your brand in front of your ideal customers and finding new people to follow and finding new people to follow you. And the only way to do that is to play the game. And that means creating a lot of content and sharing it on a consistent basis. The scheduling tool is one way that you can ensure that you are staying consistent and not having to be in front of your computer all day long, posting and responding to people who are engaging with your content. The fourth tip I have for you on how to leverage Twitter to market your brand is to mix up the different types of content that you're actually using on Twitter. Now, I mentioned earlier that the whole key to the game of Twitter is capturing someone's attention, right? So the way to do that most often and best is visually. People respond to visuals more so than they do text. So if you use videos, if you use images, those are pieces of content that you're going to have a higher chance of connecting and engaging with your ideal customers and also expanding your community. So look at the type of content. You don't want it to always be text, and you don't want it to always have a link that's going to take them away from the site. Mix it up a little bit and make sure that you're using a good mix of not just content types, but also the different solutions that you provide, how you help particular customers, and mix up the type of content that you're using as well. The fifth tip I have for you on how to leverage Twitter to market your brand is through hashtags. Hashtags actually originated on Twitter, and it was a very cool technology at the time that obviously has been expanded into other social media platforms. But it originated on Twitter as a way to help categorize content and then also help other people find like-minded individuals. Because, as I mentioned in my video that I'll link to here on LinkedIn, I always like to share with people that hashtags, the way to kind of digest and understand what they are, is different people talking about the same thing. And imagine those things as like pieces of paper that you want to file into the same place. So if if there's a group of people talking about marketing, which is what I focus on, then all of those people who are focusing on marketing can use hashtag marketing, and all of that content then is filed in one particular place. So anyone who wants to go and look for content related to marketing can then go to that folder and sort through it and see what they like, need, or whatever is helpful. The hashtag is the label that's placed on that particular folder. As with the other social media platforms, the recommended number of hashtags to use on any particular piece of content is 3. And you always want that first hashtag to be one that you either own. If you've created a hashtag for your personal brand or for your business, you want to use that as your first hashtag on all content. And then the other 2 hashtags would be relevant to the content that you're sharing. The 6th tip I have for you for using Twitter to market your brand is to pin content to your profile. I touched on this earlier with the different types of content, but it's important to have a piece of content that you pin to your profile so that everyone who goes to your profile actually sees that first. So you'll want to be strategic in what you actually have placed there, because if they only see one piece of content, what do you want that to be? So you can only do that on twitter.com. If you're using an outside source like a TweetDeck or Hootsuite, you cannot do it in those applications, so you will have to do it within the twitter.com application. But go to your profile, find a piece of content that either you're promoting a particular product or service, or you've got something new that you're going to be released, or there's new research that you're sharing. Whatever that piece of content is that you want to encourage people to see and retweet and respond to and like, pin that to your profile. So if that's the only thing that they see, that is what they will see, and then engage with it at that point. The 7th tip I have for you for using Twitter to market your brand is to consider using a third-party tool. And the reason why I say consider is because, like I mentioned earlier in the video, and I don't want to contradict myself, is that Twitter encourages and likes people who stay within their application. So looking at a Hootsuite or a TweetDeck, it's important to understand the impact it may have on your content if you're going outside the Twitter application to actually use it. But here's the thing. Here's how those tools are useful. I happen to use TweetDeck, and it is extremely helpful for categorizing people and content and notifications in one place on my screen. So within TweetDeck, I can look at any responses that people have made to my content. If I've been tagged in any particular content, I have a group of people called Awesome Peeps. So anybody I'm following and who is sharing content on a regular basis, and content I really enjoy or content I am more likely to engage with or help others promote, then those people go in that column. So I can create ways to better manage my time and better manage the tweets that I see by using a source like that. So it's something that you should consider depending on how much time you're spending on Twitter and really how much engagement you want to create for yourself and others. If you're going to use a tool like Hootsuite, then that's an opportunity for you to use one tool to manage your content on multiple social media platforms. So not just Twitter, but you can manage all of your other social media platforms in one place. So you really have to weigh out the pros and cons as to whether or not you want to go in each individual social media platform and play the game organically and really do some benefits to your brand by going by the rules of staying within that application. Or if you want to look at it and manage your time from the outside and look at a resource like that, like a Hootsuite, that you can manage all of that in one place and help your personal time management with sharing the content with your ideal customers. The 8th tip I have for you for marketing your brand using Twitter is to look at the anatomy of a tweet. In fact, there's a perfect layout of what an ideal tweet looks like, which I will share right now. And as you can see here, the anatomy of a perfect tweet, you've got your headline, which could be up to 50 characters. You'll include a by author. So if you're sharing a news article by, let's say, Forbes, you would say at Forbes. And you would include that there so that they get tagged, indicating to them or notifying them that you're sharing a piece of their content. You'll include a link for any relevant content. So it would be a link to that Forbes article in this example. You'll say via at domain. So if there was an author associated with that article and they're also included or on Twitter, you'll want to include them as well. The 3 hashtags that I'd mentioned, of course, using that first hashtag as your personal branded hashtag or the hashtag that you use to associate with your brand the most. So the example I used earlier was hashtag marketing, and then include an image or a video. And if you look at the anatomy of a perfect tweet, then this is going to be your recipe for the most success in using content and using Twitter to post or share your content. So looking at it this way, you have your headline and then the content that you post underneath that. Think of how you browse content and how you digest content the most. We like to digest it in bite-sized pieces, right? So you'd have your headline, and then if you can bullet items or do lines in between short sentences, any way that you can convey that message in the shortest, most succinct way is what's going to help set you up for success and increase your engagement opportunities, likes, replies, DMs, etc., if you use Twitter in this way. The last and final tip I have for you on how to use Twitter to market your brand is tip number 9, and that is using Twitter chats. What are Twitter chats? I like to share with people that Twitter chats are like rooms or breakout sessions that you would typically go to if you attended a live event or even an online event like we're all doing today, right? But if you look at it in that way, you've got one person in that breakout session that's leading the discussion. That would be the person who's running the Twitter chat. Then you have groups of people who attend, and it would be on a particular topic. And of course, if you host one, you want to include that in your profile so anybody who is looking at it will find it and then participate in it. And all you do is follow that particular hashtag, because the host is going to use that hashtag to post all the questions and also manage all the conversations and tweets in order to reply and engage with a very live and active audience. This is actually a great way to expand and build a community and really get some great engagement with your attendees. Reasons why people host Twitter chats or even attend Twitter chats is so that they can share advice or offer their help on a particular subject or topic. And people who attend a Twitter chat aren't necessarily people who are always wanting to learn, but they could be people who are wanting to offer their advice. As someone who attends a Twitter chat, you would actually engage in the content and answer the questions using the hashtag and engaging with other participants who are also live during that discussion. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. As always, don't forget to hit like. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe and that bell notification so you know when new videos are uploaded every single week. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to leave a comment. In fact, leave your Twitter handle, whatever hashtag you use. I would love to follow you on Twitter. And until next time, thanks so much for being here. Make today great.